Mysta-Clan Productions.
This is a video scripted and produced by Mysta and his editors. Plug of the day. Go check out my Patreon. It will really help the channel grow and sustain itself. Also, Patreon members do get shoutouts at the end of every video, so if you are a Patreon member, make sure to stay to the end to see yourself shouted out. Also, join my Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, thanks to the Dragon Lord, we can roll that intro.
So, what's up, my children? The 6 Masters here. I know my voice sounds weird, but I'm recording this right after the previous part, and it's like uploading, it's at like 70%. It was at 69, bro, but now it's at 70, so fuck yeah. Actually, as I started recording, it was at 69. I should have said something about that, but what the fuck ever. What's up, Mysta-Clan? It's the 6 Master Man over here with y'all fix part 2 to What If Raven. Wasn't my hero. I've already uploaded like 7 parts to Blacklight, so I'm gonna upload like 3 or 4 parts of this before uploading about that again, and then I'll like alternate 1 video of this, 2 videos of that, 1 video of this, 1 video of that, then 2 videos of this, 1 video of that. Y'all get it? So I'll just alternate as I feel like recording that specific series. And yeah, last episode I explained how Raven got into the My Hero verse. She wasn't born there. It was some shit to do with magic, and now shit is getting cool. All Might met Midoriya and is interested in him, as he's like considering him to be his successor because his mage jackalope quirk combined with All for One might be an immense strength heroes might find useful. So fuck yeah. And I forgot to say last part, Deku did ask like, "Oh my, do you think I can become a hero with my quirk?" And Omar's like, "Yes, one of the greatest. That is an amazing quirk, young Midoriya." And Deku was hype, but still, it's like, I'ma say, and in this one, Deku ain't no dipshit. He's smart and he stays smart. Y'all get it? Okay? So, because you need to be smart to do magic, so yeah, let's get into it. Midoriya did tell Raven that Midoriya did tell Raven that he met All Might, and it was kind of weird, and he could like, when he pulsed his magic, he could feel something was wrong. And Raven was like, I don't know, he might be the greatest hero and all, but bruh, I could probably take him. And he's like, yeah, I don't doubt it, you probably could kill him. And she's like, I know. So Inko reminds them of the UA entrance exam, and in this one Deku didn't enter beforehand. Like, I'm gonna say you could have a late entry if something goes wrong. Nah, I'm gonna say it goes to canon, like the teacher throws the paper and shit, but I'm gonna say cut back to a few days before that. It goes like, remember to sign up for UA so that you can get the best hero experience, and they're like, alright. And now they're talking about it, and they're like, okay, so there's a physical portion and there is a theory portion. And Raven's like, alright, as Metreon Zinthos, and a bunch of books pop out. And she's like, this is probably what they're gonna quiz us on. And they're like, oh, this is a lot of reading. And there's like, and they like start reading, like, but they're training their magic at the same time. Like, they be floating and meditating, and like just having their magic flip the pages. And like, I'ma say Deku can do quite a lot without saying Asmiriak Metreon Zinthos. I'ma say he has control to his magic to where he can basically fly like Raven. I'm gonna say she can do more, she just don't give a shit. Like, she just wants her magic to get physically stronger. She doesn't need more control over magic because as then you can do whatever the fuck you want, so she don't really care. And he's got a similar mindset. He's like, yeah, I just wanted to get stronger. So what they start doing is they would like lift multiple heavy fucking objects. Like Raven would conjure like 1 ton fucking weights, so they would like lift it with their magic. And I'm gonna say having multiple heavy objects in your magic does put a little bit of strain on you, but they get used to it, so they train some. And yes, they're already in a couple that happened last episode, so yeah. But he not stupid, he like fucking genius, my dude. If I had to choose IQ, Nezu would be like fucking 400, 300 around there. I'm gonna say Nezu's about a 350, and Deku's like a solid 200. 203, yeah, I'm gonna say 203 because I don't want a round number. And Raven's like at a solid 222. So they get in there, and I'm gonna just say they call each other Raven and Deku because Deku's nickname for is My Little Raven, my little feathered angel, because I love romance in these waters. It's one of my favorite aspects of making them. So yeah, and her name, because he calls it this, she likes pissing him off and just calling him a Deku, because that means useless, and he's like, what the f***? And he just like, this becomes like his nickname. Like other people would call him Deku too, like friends and but even though he doesn't have any of those, but he will. And he just got so used to the name Deku that he sometimes forgets that his name is Izuku Midoriya. And so when someone's like, yo, who you? And he's like, Deku, and they're like, aye. But that ain't gonna be his hero name. His hero name is gonna be Jackalope, so yeah, off. So All Might bounces up like a week into the 10-month skip, and he's like, young Midoriya. And he buffed out like right outside the door, and he's like, young Midoriya, is he here? And fucking Inko's like, oh my god, it's All Might, and he wants Shizuku. And he's like, and she's like, Izuku, get your butt over here, All Might's here. And he's like, what? Oh my, why he here? And him and Raven just like fucking come floating down, like fucking tickling each other. And Izuku's like, what do you want, mom? I'm kind of busy. And she's like, All Might's here. And fucking Raven and Deku just like stop and look over with a serious expression. And he's like, oh, All Might, what's up? And All Might, being surprised and not expecting such a blunt answer, just like spits out air, like, and transforms into Small Might, and he's like, that was unexpected. And Izuku's like, I knew something was wrong the other day. And he's like, what? And he's like, you're not surprised? And he's like, nah, when I pushed my magic through you, my aura through you, I kind of felt something was wrong, like you weren't in your own body or something. And he's like, yes, that's my buff form. And he's like, Deku's like, I'ma call this form Small Might. He's like, no, please don't. My name is Toshinori. And he like bows, and they're like, you shouldn't be telling people your names, just Small Might. And they're like, and he's like, whatever. And he just looks over to Raven because she has a purple aura instead of black, because in this one because she cheered up and then found love and shit, her aura isn't like black anymore. But like when she gets like really angry and goes into her like half demon form with the horns and shit coming out and her skin turning red, it will go back to black. And when Deku does that, his turns like blue. So fuck yeah. And in his demon form, his fucking skin is like, well, what's that color called? I'm gonna just say it's yellow. I had another color in mind, but I can't remember what it's called. So, but yeah, let's just say it's yellow with and his hair becomes black and shit because I can. and his magic becomes like blue, dark blue, and shit like that because I can. And All Might starts talking. He's like, "I want you to be my successor because," and then he shows the scar, and he's like, "This happened in a fight with my arch nemesis." And Deku still being an All Might he's like, "I thought, I thought that day you fought the toxic chainsaw," and he's like, "Nah, that was all for one." And he's like, "Okay." And then All Might basically explains everything, even about Nana Shimura being his mentor and having died at his hands and shit like that. And Deku's like, "Man, you know what? I think the world can't lose the symbol of peace." And Raven finally speaks and she's like, "Yeah, bruh. Um, yeah, Mr. Sumo Tashinori. I don't think that the world is ready to lose you." And he's like, "Oh, so you finally decided to speak, young one. And who might you be?" And she's like, my name is," and then she just puts out her name that I put in the last episode. Wait, I'm gonna just go find out what that is real quick. And Raven be like, "My name is Maho Akuma," or just the Japanese version of Magical Devil. So All Might's like, and he just points this out, and she's like, "Nah, my parents called me that because of our line of quirks, the magical type thing, and they just thought it reminded them of demons and shit." And I was like, "Okay, makes sense." And he's like, "Are you two related because your quirks are so similar?" Dick was like, "Nah, nah, 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 we ain't related, but we are dating." And I was like, "So that's interesting." And he's like, "So what do I call you, Maho or Akuma?" And she's like, "Just call me Raven." He's like, "Okay." And then she's like, "Because of my quirk, I'm Raven, he's Jackalope, but we call him Deku." And Almight's like, "Why would you call him useless? Or one that shall not achieve anything, but what the fuck ever." So Almight's like, "Why would you call him that?" And Deku's like, "Because it just stuck after a fucking bully in middle school called me that for how long. And I don't really mind. It's just like, sometimes I forget my name is Izuku and I just call myself Deku, so yeah." Um, and Almight's like, "Interesting. So what do I call you, young Midoriya?" And he's like, "Just call me young Midoriya, that's fine." And Almight's like, "Yes, okay, young Midoriya." And he just looks over at Inko and he's like, "I will just call you Inko." And she's like, fucking, "Of course, All Might, you can call me whatever you want." Because she's like kind. So All Might's like, "Do you want to be my successor, young Midoriya?" And he's like, "Bruh, we can't lose you." Raven's like, "Yeah, the world ain't ready to lose you." That whole thing with the names happened. And Izuku's like, "Yo, Raven, why don't you fucking heal him?" And All Might's like, "What do you mean, young Midoriya? Don't get my hopes up." And Raven's like, "Yeah, that easy, bruh." And he's like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Azmirak Metrion Zintos." And she just concentrates her magic, and like, I'm gonna say she has like the purple go over his stomach just because of how Deku explained their quirk has to work. So Raven was like, "Aight." And then after a few seconds, the aura retracts and All Might's normal. And then he just starts buffing up out of nowhere. Like, he's not trying to, it's just like unintentionally happening. He's not as buff as All Might, but I'm gonna say he's about in his prime, but his face still looks like All Might. So he's like a few inches shorter, like 2 inches, 3 inches shorter. So nothing noticeable, but yeah, like fucking someone like Night Eye would realize. So All Might's like, "Well, I didn't think this would happen." And yeah, he's gonna be in the buff form permanently now. So fuck yeah. And he's like, "Explain." And she's like, "Well, I gotta." Okay, Izuku over here unlocked his bloom, late bloomed. He was like 13 when he got his. And I had mine since I was like a kid. Like, I've had mine for like 6 years, 7 years. I'm gonna say, okay, so I'm gonna just say in her world, it's been like, she had it like for 5 years before the world was destroyed. So she would have been like 18 in her world because she would be 13 when she discovered her powers properly. And now it's been like almost a year there. She's just gonna say she had it for 6 years, so. And almost like, okay, makes sense, but how did you do that? And she's like, well, my aura can take tissue, multiply it, and reform it into something else. So what I basically did is I took tissue from your other side, fixed those organs, came over to this side and recreated those organs in a mirrored fashion to support your body. And he's like, interesting, interesting. That would be an excellent health quirk. And Raven's like, yeah, but I can only do it a limited amount of times. And All Might's like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, it chips away at my aura when I heal people like this. Because it doesn't really. She just says this because she doesn't want the government to find out about her and force her to become like a combat medic or some shit like that. And All Might's like, okay, makes sense. And she's like, and when we lose our aura, we die. And All Might's like, what? And she says, well, our aura is an extent of our life force. The smaller it gets, the weaker it gets. The smaller we get, the weaker we get. They won't really shrink. She just means like they'll get weaker and have less life, even though they're just a bunch of BS. So All Might's like, okay, so I should not let anyone find out about that because your quirk could kill someone, you or so. And he's like, could young Midoriya do that? And she's like, possibly, but it will take years of training. That was the first ability I learned, so that I studied it. My fucking aura would be much bigger if I didn't use it that many times. And All Might's like, what happened to young Midoriya? And she's like, his aura got out of control, so I was forced to stop him. And the harsh beatings I gave him while stopping him shrunk his life force. And All Might's like, oh fuck. And she's like, yeah, so our aura is basically our lives. But there's nothing except another aura that can take a life force away, so yeah. All Might isn't gonna tell anybody about the healing factor to Raven and Deku's quirk because he believes it could kill them if they use it too much, even though that was just a bunch of bull Raven made up. So, but Raven's like, yo, I healed you. Now, you gotta help us get into UA. And Almost like, what do you mean? And they're like, you've got the highest scores at UA ever, so you know what the fuck in the test. And Almost like, yeah, and they're like, well, we want to know what's in the test. And Almost like, I can't just give you the answers. And they're like, we aren't expecting you to. We just want you to tell us what we should study and think about. Almight's like, alright. And he just fucking writes down a list. But Deku and Raven start fucking studying. And they don't just study this, they study more magic because I'm gonna say Raven is really interested in boosting magic. Like how she can boost herself up. Like she can boost her speed with this spell. And boost her strength with this spell. So she starts like fucking theorizing, and Deku's like, I'ma learn fucking destruction magic. Like I wanna say he learns magic he can cover in his aura. So basically he learns like how to spread his aura. Like if y'all ever seen Teen Titans, Raven has like these black blasts she could shoot out of her hands. I'm gonna say Deku just focuses on keeping his jackalope aura around him and then just like extending the fucking nails but actually changing them into that blast without having to quote unquote cost another spell, because I'm gonna just say he cost it as a one. I'm gonna just say he's like trying to create his own spell called Cloak. I'm gonna just say he calls it Magic Cloak because his cloak does all the fighting. And I'm gonna say Raven helps him with this. And like 6 months in, they get it. And for the rest of the 4 months, Raven's like, now you gotta help me with these enhancement magic. So they get like fucking strength boosting, speed boosting, and they found out that they can stack it on each other. Like if they cast it on themselves and someone else, and that person also casts it, it would like stack and be even better. But because there's only two of them, there's only two people that can basically do it. So fuck yeah. And they like get really good at teamwork, and they like master both these techniques into one. They would just go like fucking Azmirak Metrion Zinthos, and both of them would be covered in their cloaks because both of them master both of these abilities. And then like for Midoriya, it would be like, I'm gonna say yellow lightning coming around him instead of green like in fucking canon. And for Raven, it would be red, blackish red, and for Midoriya, it's yellowish white, like white surrounding with yellow in the center. And Raven is like red with like black around it. So that shit, yeah. And I'm gonna say it's a few days before the UA stuff, and they just going back over the material All Might told them about, so they're just sure about shit. Like, then they go in. Deku still trips. He wanted to act. Uraka still touches him, and he begins to float. And he's like, but just before she starts, he goes Azmirak Midrion, and they he can just say it quickly as long as the pronunciation is technically right. So, and his aura just extends and pushes him up, and he just like realizes he's floating, and she's like, oh shit, I should not have made him weightless. She's like undoes it, and he starts falling, and Raven just like Azmirak Metrion Zinthos, and her like crow sweeps under him and catches him, and she's like, why don't you just fucking fly? And he's like, because I wanted to see if my girlfriend would be nice enough to catch me, and she was. And fucking Deku just like walks over and kisses her on the forehead because he's a little taller than in this picture. So he's a little taller than her because I can. So fuck you. And Uchaka's like and he's like, thank you for that, but next time don't do that. I can handle myself. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. And he's like, don't apologize. You didn't know. It's cool. He's like, the name's Deku. This is Raven. You? And she's like, oh, I'm Ochaka Uraraka. Quirk anti-gravity. And they're like, bruh, you shouldn't be giving out your quirk. Like, that's just stupid. What if we were villains trying to kill some people and we just knew your quirk? Don't do that. And she's like, makes sense. And they're like, yeah, exactly. And they just fucking march off. And in this one, I don't feel like doing the encounter between Bakugo and Deku. I'm just gonna say he's in another classroom, so fuck. And Ida still jumps up, but in this one, Deku like casts aura around his mouth, and he just like forces him down because Ida sat like right in front of him, and he goes Azmirak Metrion Zinthos, and he's like, and he just says Prism Mic, continue Prism Mic, and he just like turns Ida's head and so shows him to quiet up, and then he undoes it, and Ida wants to say something, but Prism Mic's now on to the 0-pointer, and Ida's like, wait, he was gonna talk about the 0-pointer? Now I feel stupid. And he just like glares at Deku, and Deku just shows him shush. And Ida, when they're like, I'm gonna say they already did the test, but the results will come back later. Fuck yeah, I'll just do the results now because I don't feel like remember it later. So, because Deku and Raven basically knew what to think about and shit, they had all the answers, and they were like few trick answers, and they would like fucking correct it, and both of them got like everything right and corrected all the wrong fucking like trick questions and shit. And fucking Nezu is like time skip forward to Nezu marking the stuff, and he's like falls out of his chair because of Ravens, and he like, this girl is smart. And then he sees Deku's and just like fucking this time slips out of his chair, and he's like, looks like we've got some interesting students this year. And he's like, they both broke the fucking record. And Deku and Raven are in different fucking like arenas. Raven uh, is with Bakugo, and Bakugo does know that Deku has a quirk, and that's how Raven told basically their class that her and Deku met because of their similar quirks. Juice, I love juice. And she fucking destroys like a 0-pointer because she wanted to, and Deku did it to save Ochaka again. But he like smashed a lot of 3-pointers, 2-pointers, and 1-pointers. So I'ma say both of them broke like even. Like I'ma say they had like a constant communication, telepathy communication, like talking to each other, and they're like, let's break even. And Raven's like, alright, let's do it just to fuck with them heads. So they would break the same amount of, and then they would just destroy the 0-pointer. I'm gonna say there was one guy that's being chased by the 0-pointer with Raven, so she gets exactly the same hero points as Deku. And Nezu just there sitting like, interesting. They're basically the same person. And Nezu's like, this can't be a coincidence. I'ma fucking ask these people what the fuck they were doing. Like, I don't think this is a coincidence. I think I should ask them, like, what the hell they are doing. And I know Nezu wouldn't say what the hell, but still, I wanted to say that in the Nezu voice, so fuck y'all. And if you want to see what happens, like, next part, nah, I'm gonna keep going. And, like, when it's like done, Deku had like carried Uraraka to Recovery Girl. Recovery Girl healed her, but before she could say anything, Deku was gone. And Ida's yelling at him like, that was reckless. You only needed this amount of points to pass, so why did you destroy that many robots? And Deku looks over at Ida. First of all, I wanted to break All Might's record, which I did. Second of all, to root out all the riffraff. And if you didn't pass, that means you're a riffraff because you couldn't think on your feet enough to find another fucking robot. He doesn't swear, but still, it hits Ida deep, and he's like, and it was rude for you to bind me back. And he's like, but you wanted to ask about the 0-pointing, even though Prison Mike was about to ask, so you would have just interrupted everyone. And Ida's like, and he just like pauses, and he's like, I realize it. I was at fault. I'm sorry. And Deku's like, and he just like grabs Ida's shoulder. Ida looks up and he puts out his hand to handshake, and he's like, let's just put the past behind us. The name's Deku. You are Ingenium's brother, right? He's like, how'd you know? And he's like, I know shit. So, yeah. And he's like, well, my name is Ida. And he's like, yeah, what's up, Ida? Fuck yeah. I'm tired. So sorry. If I stop talking the whole time, but he's like, nice to meet you. Hope we can be friends. And he's like, I'm out. I'm a dip. I need to meet Raven, my girl. And he does like, yes, I understand. And fucking Raven and Deku know they passed, so they go out celebrating. But Inko doesn't because she wants the proof that they passed. And a few days on, the fucking thing arrives, but there's only one, so they think only one of them passed. And it's like, oh fuck, did one of us do something wrong? And they open it, and it's like Inko's with them, and it's like young Midoriya and young Hash blah 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 blah. So basically Deku and Raven. So I don't remember what I called it. Let me just check. He's like, young Midoriya and young Akumo, you both pass. You might have been worried that only one of you passed, but we sent one seeing as you live together. And your quirks are so similar that we think you would be a perfect team. And thus you are in class 1A for breaking both the record in the written and physical exams. You are now the top students of UA. And everyone like, and Inko just like looks at them with sparkling eyes. She's like, my babies, you did so good. And she just fucking starts sobbing and just hugs him. And All Might's like, not only that, but Nezu here seems so interested in you that he will take over. And Nezu's like, yes, well, young Midoriya and young Akumo, you will receive a scholarship to UA. So you will be, everything you do would be paid for. Lunch at the cafeteria on us. School bills on us. And if a dorm system is ever implemented, on us. And now fucking Inko's just fucking tearing up. She's like, I saved up so much money for you two to go to UA. I'm so happy I can use it on myself. And they're like, yeah, you deserve it, ma. And she's like, you can have some too, seeing as it was meant for you. They're like, nah, we don't need it. It's for you, ma. You did a lot, Inko. Raven said, you deserve this. And she's like just crying. And I'ma say she like ran fucking 3 jobs just so these two can get into UA and she could pay it. So now she could just like chill in one job because of all the extra money she has. And I'ma say she got a lot of fucking money. Like the amount of money where like rent and shit would build up in the bank so that money like pays itself. And she doesn't use all the money she gets every month from her job, most paying job that she keeps, like her one permanent job. Like she doesn't use all that to get through the month. Like she don't need to pay for breakfast and lunch for, she only has to pay for breakfast and dinner. That's that, my dude. And I'm gonna say they have like a vegetable garden because Raven decided it would be good for her to do something like that. So they don't even have to pay for fucking vegetables because Raven can just use her magic to make it grow faster. So all she really has to pay for is basically electric and water bills. That's that. And rent, obviously. But I'm gonna say they own the house, so no rent's paid. So yeah. So she fucking maxing out, relaxing, all cool, shooting some b-ball outside of. No, I'm just fucking kidding. If anyone catch that reference, y'all can ask me one question. The first person to catch that reference, you can ask me one question. I will answer it. But nothing personal. I'm not giving y'all my name or my face or shit. That's private to me. So I would ask, y'all can ask me one thing, I'll answer. If you ask me of one thing, I'll do it for you. So yeah, but yeah, Inko is relaxed because she can do a lot more shit. Raven and Deku just smirk because they broke the score, and Nezu's like, not only did you break the record, but you broke it evenly, as if you were one, or communicating in some way. And Inko's like, what does he mean by that? And they're like, we use telepathy. And she's like, you too. And they're like, and I'm gonna say about a few weeks after that, UA starts. And we'll be covering that in the next part. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Check out AGO Def and Frisky Fries in the channel section. And peace out, my clan. Love y'all. This has been Six Master. Peace.
That is going to be all for this video. ASCAP Mysta-Clan Productions, including Six Mysta and his editors, thank you for finishing the video. Now for official shoutouts and Patreon members at the end.
Mysta-Clan Productions.
Join my Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, thanks to the following people for becoming Patreons: Kahakashi Obachiha. And remember to check out the link in the description because the Dragon Lord created both our intro and outro. Now roll that outro. Peace.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Subscribe for more.
Yada yada does it.